Russell Real Estate, and today I wanted to go over this quick article from Mike Del Pret. Actually, I don't even know how to say his last name, so that's what I'm going with. And the title of it is Go Big or Go Home, Opendoor's High Stakes Game of Disruption. And basically in here, he goes over Opendoor's net losses year by year, particularly highlighting 2022 and pointing out how brutal of a year it was for many investors, but especially for Opendoor and their model. So basically, their net losses you could see here in 2017 pretty minimal. I mean, you're still looking at uh, probably close to $50 million lost. 2018 edges closer to 300 million. 19 is a little more than that. 2020 is a little less than 300 million. 2021 was actually a bad year for them as well, where they lost over $600 million. And the thing that I thought was interesting was essentially they're losing money when houses are going up in value. Like I knew a lot of flippers, or I know a lot of flippers that bought houses in 2020 and 2021, and they were just essentially, uh, they knew that even if they took longer on their remodel, they could still make money because house prices were just going up in value so much. So it's kind of mind blowing to me that whatever algorithm they were using to buy houses at, they were unable to turn a profit and actually lost over $600 million in 2021. So kind of interesting there. 2022 was a different story. I mean, basically from the get-go, we started seeing increases in interest rate hikes. And really, at least nationally, they said the housing market kind of hit a recession in about mid-June of 2022. Um, so at that point, they did start to slow down their purchases, but you could see how much money they lost in uh, in 2022. It was $1.4 billion. Now, from another article I read a few months ago, I'm pretty sure some of that is actually write-offs for them. So it's not like they are truly out $1.4 billion, but I mean it's a very sizable loss, that's for sure. So what he says here is that Opendoor recently posted its quarter four financial results, revealing mega losses alongside early signs of a possible turnaround. To me, like, turnaround from what? Like, of course, you're going to turn around from a $1.4 billion loss in a single year. Now, how you turn that around and make it profitable is another story. Like, do they cut their losses in half and they only lose $700 million next year? And that's where I'm just kind of curious to see what they're going to end up doing. As far as what he says for why it matters, he goes, in 2022, Opendoor experienced an absolutely devastating test of its business model, a worst case scenario event, and survived. The damage was brutal in terms of financial losses, but the company is still around and operating, whereas most companies would have succumbed to this type of existential event. Well, sure, most companies don't have that amount of capital to lose. So they are venture funded, basically. So people invest in the company. I'm not sure why you would invest in this company at this point, just because they do not have a proven track record, as you could see. And while it was a cool concept of going direct to homeowner and having them sell it to you, it's an easier process and all of that stuff. Um, like between their bad business practices, where the Federal Trade Commission slapped them with a huge fine earlier in 2022. Um, so like they were misleading their customers. So, in my opinion, that's a moral hazard. And then obviously they're not even making money. So, I don't know why people would invest in this company, but again, it sounded attractive at first, but the more you get into it, the more it doesn't make sense. So that is basically what we're looking at. They still do have a ton of cash. So they started the year out with $2.2 billion. Dollars. They ended the year with $1.3 billion. Dollars. So they lost, $900 million dollars there, but still have a ton of money that they could blow through. Yeah, they burned $934 million dollars last year, but they were able to weather the storm without raising additional capital or going bankrupt. So they are trying to cut their expenses, of course. They've also switched CEOs, and you could see this is quarter by quarter in 2022. Their operating expenses kind of peak in Q2, and then they go back down Q3 and even more so in Q4. So they're definitely trying to turn things around, but again, I'm just not sure that they're going to be able to play this high stakes game, as he says, the high stakes game of disruption for too much longer. Otherwise, they're not going to be in business for very long. So that's just my 2 cents. Obviously, I'm sure they have very smart people managing the company and they have a game plan, but I just don't see it. If you have any comments as to why you think Opendoor is the future or is a at least a viable company and will survive this, I would definitely be open to hearing it. I don't feel strongly about many things, and I'm willing to change my mind as long as I'm presented information that makes sense to me. So let me know what you think. Otherwise, have a great day.